Like Italian pizza, bro, it's dead. No, fish and chips, it's dead. Even to a certain extent, some of the Turkish food is quite bland. Arabic food is bland. Alhamdulillah, with our Asian, specifically our Asian food is mashallah, it's very, just the way the music is very elaborate. Same with the spices in the food, is mashallah, it's got lots of layers to food.
Welcome to another episode of the Muslim Pound podcast. Today we have entrepreneur Kazi Rahman, famously of Firnas Airways, Sunnamusk, and now Buddies. Welcome to the podcast.
Jazakallah khairan for having me.
So, you used to ask us, or you still do, what's your greatest fear?
Yes, I still do. And now I've heard your trick. I might need to import your idea into mine.
So I heard that and I thought, let me level up. I asked GPT, give me a question to ask Kazi Rahman. And the question was, and it's quite interesting because it will lead us to the first topic. If you had to design an unnecessary feature of a private jet, what would it be?
Unnecessary feature, ooh, in a private jet. Okay, I think I'm going to get some sticks for this one, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like a shisha section. I'm not an addict, by the way, for shisha. I purely and only do it when I need to just socialize. That's all. Like, no addiction, none of that.
A shisha section, just for a chill, and that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with aeroplanes. What's your passion behind aeroplanes?
I wish I could explain this passion. If you ask any aviation enthusiasts, fanatics, they just can't explain this. It's like a bug that goes into your DNA, and you just can't explain it why it's there. I suppose it's the same thing with people that love football. Like, they just can't explain why they're so fanatic about football. And I'm sure there are many other things. Many people have tech. Techies are very much techies. So I don't know. I think I've tried to figure it out. I think it's the complexity of everything. It's the risk and complexity that's involved with aviation and planes, and how everything just comes together so harmoniously, and how they work together, and in such a safe manner. It's just so much complexity. These guys, the people that regulate the industry, they've taken so much complexity and they've really simplified it and streamlined it. And that's what really appeals to me, that whole complex aspect, nature of aviation and planes.
Where did that first start? Where did that passion first start?
It was long time ago. So I think I was 7 at that time. And so we migrated from Bangladesh to the UK in 1997. So about, I would say, 4 years before that, my father went from London to back home to Sylhet. And in Sylhet airport, there was a feature where you have to pay 5 taka or something, which is like, I don't know how many pence it is, but it's probably less than a pence, or maybe just about a pence. You go upstairs on the rooftop and you see the plane land during the night. So everything is dark, everything is black in your surrounding, and you just see this amazing machine just lands so seamlessly and smoothly, and it just comes off the runway, and then it stops, shuts down, and then people start sliding out of the plane. But obviously, I'm 7-year-old and I can't see so far as well. All I could see is just little bubbles sliding from a slide. And then I later realized, it was actually a staircase people were using to come out of the plane. So that's when I saw a plane. I was like, wow, this is so amazing. I don't know what it is, but it just looks so fascinating. And then I forgot all about it until I got my first job in London City Airport many years down the line in 2005. And then I got reconnected to those planes, the planes that I've seen at the age of 7 years old.
So your first job, was that intentional? You used to clean aircraft, right?
Yeah, I used to clean aeroplanes. I used to do bulk drops, and some of the stories I don't think I want to get into. But it was for me, it was very fun, that job, because I got to explore planes. I got to see how planes look from every direction. I got to go inside the plane. I got to speak to cabin crews. I got to learn a few new words, speak to the pilots, how they became pilots and so on. And bearing in mind, this was around the whole, the 9/11 and just maybe after 9/11. So this whole terrorism thing was still at its peak, the war in Afghanistan, war in Iraq. And it's like, you shouldn't be there, but you're there. And I was just there. And every time I worked there, I don't know, I felt intimidated in some sense, because I shouldn't be around planes, but I'm around planes. I even had one person once reported me for taking photographs of planes, because when you're sitting in airside in your van, your cleaning van, what can you do? You see beautiful sunset and you see planes land and you just take a photograph. Someone reported me for that. And this is just to give you a context of what situation was like. People were very worried of a Muslim man taking the picture of a plane. And recently we realized, even world champions like Abid got, escorted off a plane. So it was quite an interesting time. But yeah, it was intentional. That job, I got that job intentional. I wanted that job. No one forced me into that job. I liked the idea of being around planes, and I chose it. And I remember going to my first interview wearing okay, I'm going to clean the planes and I'm going to drive a van. And the manager asked me why are you dressed so smart? I'm like, yeah, I really want that job. And then he goes, so what makes you want to apply for this job? Because yeah, I love driving. And then he goes to me, there's nothing much to drive here. It's only 10 miles an hour. I was like, yeah, but still. But alhamdulillah, in the end, I got the job, and I really enjoyed my time in City Airport. And then towards the end of my journey in City Airport, I upgraded my job to a catering job. So I used to drive those trucks, food trucks, and line up onto the plane and go and deliver food. So
what I don't fully understand is you were aircraft cleaner, you had a passion. From then, what possessed you to think, I'm going to have my own airline? Because that's another step forward. There's so many people who have a passion for food. Not all of them have restaurants. You're one of them.
I think, so look, there was some fundamental shifts were happening in my thinking, in how I saw the world and how I viewed success and big people, big entrepreneurs. So while working in City Airport, I was of the view that I'm just a normal guy, everyday guy. And, this is like for the likes of Richard Branson, forget, launching anything like this. You know what? It would be a success to just learn to fly one of them. But I always wrote it off. I wrote it off to myself, like, no, it's not for me, because I don't have GCSEs. I don't have degrees. I don't have any of that to learn to fly a plane. And I think something told me that you have to be really smart and intelligent to become a pilot. One day, one of my colleagues, his name is John Wiley, he challenged me on my thinking. He goes, why do you think you can't do it? I'm like, I don't have GCSEs. I don't have all these degrees. He goes, no, you don't need it. Go and Google it up and see. You can actually learn to fly a plane without having those degrees. Lo and behold, I did Google, and then I came up with so many schools that actually train you to fly without even anything. As long as you've got basic understandings of maths and some, physics. And I think if you're a human being, you will have some level of understandings of both of these subjects. So I went for a few lessons. And I really enjoyed it. So that was my thing. At that point, I just want to become a pilot. That's it. I don't want anything else. Sunnamusk wasn't there that time. None of that was there. Me, aircraft cleaner, my biggest achievement at that point would be from aircraft cleaner to flying an aircraft.
You went a level up.
Yes. And all of that happened. That shift happened to wanting to launch an aviation business came after Sunnamusk. So the thrust behind aviation, or wanting to be successful in aviation, or even wanting to thinking to launch an aviation company, came after I knew or after I've learned that, you know what, I think I've got what it takes to be an entrepreneur. I think I've proven myself in some capacity, and I can apply the same logics and principles to any business, and they should work.
Can you?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. No, actually.
The fundamentals,
I take that
yes.
back. Fundamentals are same,
Yeah.
but you can't make mistakes. So I went from. So when I left Sunnamusk to my brother Abid, it was just a 6-store operation. And then I jumped into the unknown of wanting to launch an aviation company because I thought, you know what, I've got sacked from my job. I don't have a job anymore. I now realize I can do a business much better than, wanting to work for someone or something like this. Then I thought, you know what, why not? Let's just give it a go. So the idea was I'm going to give it a go later on in my life. Maybe when I'm in my 40s or maybe mid 40s. But it never occurred to me that it was going to happen so quick. And it's that rabbit hole, you start Googling, and you start searching. And the more you do one thing after another, one search after another. And the problem of being an entrepreneur, I think, is because you're so used to executing, you just think everything is an execution. Yeah. You should just go and execute. So I think the more I looked into it, the more I became serious, the more I told people about it, the more people held me accountable about what I wanted to do. And that's a habit that I still have. And I think it's a positive habit, to tell people broadly what you want to do, because they will hold you accountable at some point. Oh, what happened to that? Have you done it? So I use that to my advantage. But with that one, it just propelled me forward. And then there was so in terms of the transition between Sunnamusk, so Sunnamusk was, in its early stages, and it wasn't moving fast enough. I think the problem was it wasn't moving fast enough. I wanted it to move faster. And as you know, you're an entrepreneur. When things are not fast, you end up getting bored quite easily. And I think that's what happened to me. And I said, you know what? I need something, I need a big challenge. And that's what I've done. I thought, forget wanting to be a pilot. Let's just launch something, because I learned in personal development, you have to have a plan. You have to have a goal, and you have to write down the goals, and you have to have an action plan behind it. And sooner or later, you will manifest those goals. And that's what I've done. I've written down goals. And I wanted to do it, and then I started acting on it, and then slowly it became very serious. Maybe more serious sooner than I expected.
The one thing I remember watching a documentary, and that's the first time I heard of you, and that's probably like a lot of people. I remember the narrator saying, Bangladeshi born, and I was like, this person's born in Bangladesh, he's come to the UK, and I think I was probably 20, 22 at the time. He's come to the UK and he started an airline. That just cements that literally anything is possible. And you're talking about it's achievement for yourself. But how did that actually impact you in terms of you broke the barriers within your mind? Because now you've done an airline, it's not fully took off yet, but it's there. And that basically means you can achieve anything.
Bro, if I was to rewind all the way backwards, what does it teach me, or what does it tell anyone out there? You can have an idea, and if you work on that idea, if you nurture that idea, and if with the idea, if you execute even small steps at a time, it can become something quite serious and quite big. And that's exactly what happened with Firnas. It was an idea, it was a challenge, and I started doing little things here and there, Googling, calling up this company, charter company. Hey, how much does it cost to fly to Sylhet? It's 200 and something thousand pounds per leg, or something like that. I was like, okay, let me dig a bit more. There's other avenues. There's another way. There's so many different ways you can approach this matter. And then you just get so drawn into it and you just get sucked into it. And because you've told people around you that you're going to do it, and every time you go to a family gathering or meetings, oh, how's this project going? And then that hits you. And then you think, yeah, it's going good. And I don't know how to explain, but it's just the more you repeat something, the more it gets ingrained in your mind. Not your brain, your mind, because I feel like mind and brain is a completely different thing. So it gets ingrained in your mind, and you just start acting upon it. And I think what I've learned is that if you can have an idea, if you're serious about an idea, and if you can work towards the idea, you don't even need to go all out. Take baby steps, and then it becomes something by itself. It's a system. It's a framework.
You should push the needle.
Yeah.
So what's the next plan for Firnas?
Firnas at the moment, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, I say with the heaviest heart that unfortunately due to lockdown and COVID, I couldn't just push it ahead any further. It was underfunded, and the issues and challenges that we've faced, the money was nowhere enough to come out of or maneuver with those challenges and reposition ourselves. So unfortunately, I tried my level best to just keep pushing, just in case, maybe that angle would work, because you've invested so much effort, energy, money, everything that you've had, you've put into that project, and it's just coming crashing down. What do? Do you give up, or do you go until the last breath and say, you know what, I'm going to give it. I'm going to try and reposition, pivot until either it works or it says to me it is not going to work. So unfortunately, temporarily, I believe in my mind, we've shelved it. We've appointed liquidators earlier in 24. We're just going back and forth with the crowdfunding platform that we use to raise funds. So they keep pushing back on the liquidation. Obviously, we want to close the company in a very professional and smooth manner where there is transparency and accountability. And that's what we're trying to do. Eureka are still pushing back because obviously, and rightly so, they've got the investors' interests in front of them, and they want to make sure they're doing everything in a proper way for the investors. And I want them to do the same thing too, but I just don't want unnecessary delays. So we're almost there with the liquidation. We don't want to just dissolve a company. You can go and dissolve a company, and that looks very strange and dodgy as well. I don't want that. That's not what we're about. Some people think, some people call me a thief in my community, maybe. I don't know if other communities have the same thing, but I've heard, on comment boxes, this guy's a thief, he ran off with investors' money. I guess, what can I say? Until the liquidation hasn't happened, I can't say much, but what I will say is it's an investment, it's a shared risk. If I don't know, if me and you open a chicken shop, and you put 50% and I've put 50%. Who's liable? Am I meant to now pay you 50% for the investment that you've put in? No. We've both taken a shared risk, and that's how our investors have taken a shared risk. But unfortunately, some people think they've loaned me the money and they think I should be paying them back. But obviously these communications are directly made through Eureka, directly with the investors. They know who they are. They've received communications through the platform, and we're doing it in a very professional and proper way. I mean, I could have done with saving £6,000 or so in appointing a liquidator. I mean, that is a personal cost on me. I had to pay. I didn't go to investors and say, oh, can you give me more money so I can liquidate the company? No. So I want to do the proper thing, the right thing. And yes, there has been lenders that have lent money to me as a person, not to the company. And these guys are getting paid slowly but surely.
How does it feel that people are calling you thief, especially after the hard graft you've put in?
But yeah, it feels it's sad because Some of them people that call you those names, they are very knowledgeable at the same time. They are very knowledgeable, they are very intelligent. Some of them are maybe even Islamic scholars, and they don't get the basic concept of investing. They too want the money back from a project that they've invested in. So it's very painful and hurtful that your people that you want to, I suppose, ultimately you want to impress and you want to satisfy with a service or a product. When things go wrong, they really, really put you under the bus and call you names. And I think this is something that we could do without looking at it from their angle. A lot of people that have invested in aviation projects in our communities, and there was 3 of them, almost always, all the investors have got burnt, unfortunately. And I think that's the paintbrush they're using to also, label us or brush us with. So it's an unfortunate circumstance, and I hope one day, inshallah, if it revives one day, then people will see this wasn't about. And another thing, people think, oh, he took all the money and he put it in Sunnamusk, and look, they took money on one way and Sunnamusk grew another way. No. Sunnamusk, Firnas shut down its doors or its operations before lockdown. That means all the money was depleted before lockdown. If anyone cares to do some research, the growth of Sunnamusk happened after lockdown. And it done with its own strategies and with own money. I've got pile of that much bank statements from day one till the day of no trading or no activities. And if anyone wants to see where the money went, I'm very happy for them to send us an email, and we'll make those records available, because there is absolutely nothing to hide. And in this country, you're operating in the UK, you've got a company's house that you have to submit records to.
You can see everything.
You can see everything. You can see most of the things. So yes, if it was like, we've funded another company, then yes, there would have been checks and balances. And when we were doing everything, we had a team that oversaw everything. So again, that's a very disappointing comment that we get to hear all the time. Well, I get to hear. And I think it's unfair on my brothers who worked extremely hard to grow Sunnamusk from where I left off, to then be labeled, what's that word? Like, thieves, effectively. So it's very
conman, basically.
Yeah, it's sad, and logically it doesn't make sense. I've spent all the money on my team, on the aircraft, on the applications, the office costs. There's so many costs, marketing costs. So Sunnamusk couldn't have grown. Even if it did, it couldn't have grown with that money. How Sunnamusk grew, Abid employed a very good strategy. Lockdown made all the shopping centers come down to earth before they felt that they were like gods. So lockdown taught them a lesson, and they came down to the discussion tables and they started making group deals. So we made deals that included Europe, shopping centers in Europe, based on one discussion. It wasn't like, oh, hey, Mr. Shopping Center, I'm in Germany, Oberhausen. Can I discuss with you to come into your shopping center? No, all these discussions we had in London. So it was a very good time for Sunnamusk, and rightly so. Abid took advantage of that, and why not? Anyone would do that. So no, it's not Firnas money that made Sunnamusk what it is. It was hard graft. It was hard work. And I've got pictures, bro. I've got pictures from lockdown time. We were thinking, what are we going to do? Like, shopping centers are shut. People are not buying. And at that point, we didn't understand online much. We used to always think, online, yeah, fragrance. How are people going to interact with the fragrance? Yeah, I know we need to do it, but we just can't do it. We just don't have the resources, or we don't have the intention at the moment. We know we should do it, but we're just not, one of them ones. You know you have to do it, but you just don't see the fruits of it because you haven't seen it.
Online,
yeah, exactly. So that was our point. But we knew it was so important, but we just didn't know how important it was. And lockdown came, bang. It made us think, you know what? Everything's shut. What have we got to do? Online is the only way forward. So what did we do? So I looked at, okay, how do you get now hand sanitizers? Everyone's taking advantage of the community. Selling hand sanitizers for what? £5, £10, £15. God knows how many, what people were selling them with. So we thought, well, we've got relationships with manufacturing companies and we can maybe come up with a different type of hand sanitizer, oud hand sanitizer. So I was like, we spoke to our supplier and we said, hey, I know we owe you some money, but is there any way we can work on this? Because we're in it together. If we don't come out alive, then you're not getting the money that we owe you as well. So I kind of I had a discussion with our supplier, the filling company, and we convinced him to personally come himself and his wife to come to the factory and fill up our oud hand sanitizers. And we sold them at cost price. Whatever we made them for, we've sold them at cost price. And bro, people were just ordering loads. And guess what? Royal Mail was shut. Everything was shut. They said they were going to come and collect the goods. They didn't. My brother Abid and his friends, they went to 200-300 homes to deliver those hand sanitizers, and they did. So anyone that says, this is drug money and this is that money and this, and by the way, we do hear that all the time. People just can't comprehend, how does a company grow from this to this? There's a lot of things where
does drug money come into it?
A lot of people say that. People say, oh, this is all drug money. Because they just can't comprehend. They can't comprehend how can it work? They just don't have the capacity, brain capacity maybe, to understand how does one company from here take itself there? Bro, we worked hard. Abid worked hard with his friends. Everyone was all hands on deck during lockdown time. The world was shut, but we were working behind the scenes. We were making deals. So, alhamdulillah, and they paid off. They paid off. Alhamdulillah.
So, Sunnamusk, you left when there was 6 stores?
6 stores, yeah.
And now it is?
37 in 5 countries.
In 5 countries as well.
Yeah.
So, what would you say the main difference between you and Abid is? Because he's taken it to 6 to 31, so from the outside, it's he's obviously done more, but ground to 6 is difficult as well. But obviously, all of your brothers were involved.
So 2 were active, 3 are inactive because they're in different line of work. Imams, Hafiz, Alims, mashallah. Alhamdulillah, they're all, alhamdulillah, we're blessed to have a family that are productive in one way or another. Whether they're an alim or whether they're a hafiz well, everyone is just making themselves useful. Abid and me, we were into business. How did Abid take it from where I left off to where it is now? Various things, man. And he's always been good with the money. Even when I had money, somehow so the difference between me and him is I'm the doer. I would go out and put my neck on the line and put my neck on the chopping board, and I'm happy to embarrass myself if it fails. He's the opposite. He's more he understands money better than I do.
What does that mean?
Somehow he would just have more savings than, although he's younger than me, he would have more savings. Maybe it boils down to I just keep experimenting new things. Maybe they benefit from me experimenting. I don't know. I don't know how it works, but he's always been that. He's more logical when he approaches a matter. He's more logical, more strategic, more, he will calculate the situation. Whereas me, as long as I've got my basic calculations done, then the rest is a lot of willpower and just execution and just getting it done. So I think the difference between me and him is he's a lot more strategic in terms of what he does. And that has its own positives and negatives as well. So where he would stop at a certain point, that's where I would probably begin, and I would carry on, and I would go there. And then maybe I'll say, hey, I've made it, come round. So that's the difference between him and me. He's got his own strengths and I've got my own strengths. And I think two of them combined is a very good partnership or combination.
It seems like you kind of bulldoze the beginning.
Yeah.
And then when you've done the bulldozing, he'll take a step back, look and say, you know what, to then grow a bit more, we need to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
So what does it actually take to scale up to that level? Because 6 to 31 is no joke. 5 countries is no joke.
It happened, for sure, it happened over time. And alhamdulillah, we've been fortunate to have some really good people. Like, you don't find those people, every day. After maybe hiring 100 people and maybe getting it wrong half the time, you find one star and one gem. And you hold on to those people and you nurture them and, they grow with you. And equally you grow with them. So it's a combination. So we've had one guy, when we were at 6 store, we had one guy, his name is Stanley, and he came on board. He worked in Dubai. He literally arrived in the UK and we were his first job. He worked in our Southall branch, and he turned the store around. It was actually unprofitable. It wasn't making profit. He A, turned it around, and B, made it profitable, and it was growing. And he always kept on saying, there's so much potential here. There's so much that you can do. And I can see where those holes are. And, you guys should address it. So we're like, well, you've run 18 tire shop locations in Dubai. So how about you come and fix it? And that's soon after we've opened our 7th or 8th location in Brent Cross. I remember we were pushing our kiosks down the mall because normally before we would install it ourselves. So we'd get made in another country.
Yeah.
We'd receive the cargo and we'd go into shopping centers. So I was the electrician, man. I would connect all the wires. It came almost like in a modular way, and someone had to just connect all the dots, and it became a kiosk. So in the night we'd go and set up, and we'd have all these conversations with Stanley, and he would say, warehouse is a problem. There's some holes there. If we fill those holes and block them, then, you'll have a lot more money. And we're like, okay, well, you come and fix it then. Let's have a meeting. And that's when we were still operating in a railway arch. Warehouse on one side and the office on another side. And believe it or not, at some point, Bethnal Green. That's the same lockup in the documentary. When I was, there was a clip in the documentary where I was speaking from a lockup, and that's the lockup of Sunnamusk in Valence Road. And we used to work from there. And at some point, there was no electricity in that lockup, and we used to use a generator to power up the unit until the electric came. I remember, bless his soul, our graphic designer, his name is Joe. And that's how he came into the company. And I'm surprised he didn't get scared and resign or something. He's still here with us, since 2014. And I'm talking about 2014, by the way.
Only 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago, powering up the unit with a generator. We used to take the generator into the petrol station and fill up the generator and bring it back, and it will run for 2 days and then go back again. So we had that office, and then at that same time we moved our office from the Valence Road lockup. We separated the warehouse and office because you can't really employ people in that environment. No toilet, no nothing. Bro, you have to walk to the toilet. It's all the way there. It's not contained in your unit. And from a hiring perspective, it just limits your choice. It limits your ability to hire. How can you invite someone?
It's not a good environment.
As a founder, you can work in there, no problem at all. And I did communicate that to Abid various times. Look, we need to move out of that place. Having a porter come in outside that unit is not going to help. So finally, we agreed that we're going to move to a proper office. And I think combined with Stanley coming into the office and the office opened up a whole new world for us. So I think if we didn't move from that lockup into the office, and if an experienced, passionate fragrance enthusiast who's called Stanley, if he didn't come into the business, then I think, yes, the growth would have happened because we're like bulldozers. Like, I'm like a bulldozer. I would like chip away until like, we open it up. So yes, we would have probably eventually got there, maybe not as fast. I don't know the unknown. But Alhamdulillah, Allah has sent me those people that we have. Some of them we have today. And combined with all of that, lockdown, opportunities, cost of opportunity going down, people then having lots of money all of a sudden to spend after lockdown. I don't know if you remember that there was a bubble where people were spending a lot of money. People had a lot of saving because they were working from home, furlough and all of that. And I think it was that year or that year and a half, we just like grew rapidly. And we also hired more and more people, more and more managers, like from Stanley managing few stores to now then him having his own sales team or regional managers, territorial managers. These are the infrastructures that we really had to put in place very quickly. And it was our first time doing it as well.
Did you know that going forward, you'd have to put these area managers in?
No.
So that's completely
no. We thought, like, what do you mean? Like, why do we need to hire this person? Why can't we manage it? But if we didn't do it, then it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked.
I'm quite interested in the Southall branch. You said that was running at a loss.
Yeah.
Stanley came and turned it around into a profit. What changes did he implement?
First of all, he was a fanatic for perfumes. He loved perfumes. Like this guy, how can I describe him? If he sees perfume, like a bunch of perfume, he'll go red. He wants to try all of them.
It's like you and planes.
Yeah. That's it. He would go red. Duty free. I've seen him in duty free when we're traveling somewhere. He's like going all crazy. So that, I think that played a big part. The fact that he just arrived in the UK, it's his first job. Maybe he wanted to just make sure that everything is on point with his job. And I don't know, maybe he saw an opportunity, like a future opportunity, and his experience that he brought from Dubai. This foundation, like sales, before that we didn't have a sales manager. Before him, it was us setting targets, Abid setting targets on a monthly basis as it came. So Stanley came and took that responsibility off Abid. And he had his own levers that he was pulling. And they were very good levers. And some of them we still use in other companies. Like how the sales reporting should happen. What are we looking at? What KPIs are we looking at? All these month to dates and, week to date and, percentage and cumulative. All of that. We didn't think. We didn't even look at those. We just thought, this is the target. This is how much we made. Okay, there's a difference. Okay, maybe it's more or most of the time it's less. But there was no formula. There was no strategic formula to it. So he implemented all these processes. And I think the process also drove itself. So he systemized a lot of things. Like he had a few operations, procedures that he put in that worked in his favor. So he could pull those levers and make his job easy and make more money for the company.
How important is that reporting and KPIs now? If you look at it now, compared to before, how important is it for you to have them?
Reporting and KPI is everything, man. Like whether it's hiring someone and KPIing them or your sales revenue and projections, it all has to be attached to a measurable KPI. For example, I'm hiring you today as a, business development manager. How do I measure your success, say in 2026? Everything has to have a KPI. Otherwise, we cannot measure each other.
And then it's also not just sales, isn't it? So if you look at a branch, you look at sales, you haven't hit the target, But then you have to look deeper into it. Okay, it's not sales, it's the number of customers. Then it's how many times have you prospect customers. Because you're Sunnamusk people are always trying to make me smell the perfume.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's all of them numbers, and then it has to be automated because then you can't have the salesperson writing, oh yeah, it's only 5 people.
Yeah. No, we track data from EPOS, we track data from various sources, we've got mystery shoppers. So there's many ways we track. Obviously we can't just track everything to the T because our business relies on people and their emotions. If someone doesn't feel like giving a tester card for the day, maybe because they had a bust up at home with their wife or something, then there's nothing I can do about it. And if I see them, then I'll try to excite them and motivate them. But you've got 300 plus people. How do you know who's feeling like what? So unfortunately, you can't completely measure everything, but you've got levers that you can look at. Yes, how many walk-ins, how many customers you've served. AOV, average order value, is a massive one to determine, like, which store is where, like how much each salesperson is selling and how many quantity per sale, how many items are they selling per customer. That's a very important factor to look at. AOV is a universal one that we look at. Okay, this store's AOV is, say, £70. Why is it £70? And why is this one £50? Like, what is this store that's making them 50 and this store doing that's making them 70? Maybe you'll find there's a shark salesperson who sells more to the same customers, or there's better training or better energy in that team. There's so many variables at play, but KPI, like, comparing yourself based on previous data is super, super important. Like, it makes your life so much easier. If you have data to work with, then you can make so much informed decisions. And bro, we're still learning. We're still learning as we go along, learning from the experts that we have within our team, who bring in new knowledge and educate us.
So then, how have you taken this knowledge about KPIs and now you've opened a takeaway? So this knowledge of KPIs, how does that help you in your buddies, in your takeaways?
Yeah, it's a bit disastrous, that one. We spent, now that I look back, it's almost 2.5 years into buddies. Now that I look back, what mistakes did we make? And there's quite a few mistakes that we've made that meant the business is on the verge of becoming profitable very soon, inshallah. But it's been a very interesting learning experience. And I look at everything positively. I look at everything in a positive way. There's always something to learn from every situation, every incident that takes place in your life. I always try and carve out the positive. Negative, yes, it happened. You know what? That's just life, man.
You look at the roses, not the thorns.
It happens, man. It happens, and it's okay. You can't beat yourself over it. Yes, as long as you learn from it, khalas, move on. So we've learned so much. And one thing that this fast food has taught me, and it still continues to teach me, is you have to look at the pennies. In fragrance business, yes, you're working with a nice, decent margin and a markup, and you don't have to be super careful. Like, if you want to spend in marketing and say in buddies, you have to think, okay, how can I measure my ROI? Like, do I spend here or do I spend there? So you have to be very careful, because the margins are so slim and thin, and it's so bloody hard with fast food. If someone told me if someone could just plug me into something and give me the feeling and the knowledge that I have, and now I would have said no fast food, please.
Why did you choose fast food?
Again, it was a lockdown move, Everyone was doing something, and I always enjoyed fast food, I don't know if you've ever been to Tower Hamlets, if you've had a PFC.
There's a KFC, there's a PFC, real taste.
Yeah, man. Like, if you experience PFC, then you know what I'm talking about. And my thing was there was a few incidents where I went to the shop and...
Oh, you're talking about the PFC in Bowl on Stroudley Road.
Not specifically. I'm talking about it as a sector. It became a sector by itself. So you've got your Dixies, which is one type of chicken and chips, but PFC is like what we've done. We Bengalis, we love to distort everything. So we've taken the American concept, we've added a bit of Turkish concept, and we've infused it with Bangladeshi spices. And then you've got PFC. You've got your hot wings that have the Bangladeshi spices. You've got doner that we effectively cut into pieces, and we make it into a Bangalified Turkish cuisine. So what was happening? Every PFC was independent. So there was one PFC. Okay, Spice Hut, the real dons, they're out there, they're nationwide. Mashallah, hats off to them. And in fact, it's those guys that we we thought, you know what, we need more. We need more of our food, scaled up. So I was like, I had few experiences where I went to some of these shops and they're like, bro, it's raining. I know they have a card machine, but they say, no card machine. I'm like, astaghfirullah. So I had to go out, get my £10 out, and then come back and enjoy the food because I love, now you can't see my belly anymore. But before I had a big fat belly and it's all those donors, man, too much donors and, eating too much and no exercise. So lockdown was happening. Again, bored. Like, what do I do? Like, no Firnas, no nothing. Sunnamusk I've given to Abid because I wanted to focus on Firnas. Now Firnas is gone too. So what do I do? So I got a few of our friends, buddies together and said, hey, I really want to do this. But what I want to do, initially the concept was, I don't want to do a shop. Let's get a ghost kitchen and we just go all out online. Like forget a in-store shop.
Uber Eats.
Yeah, just Uber Eats and our own app. It's like, I was going to call it EPFC or something. And then they were like, well, if we're going to spend this much money on a ghost kitchen, then why can't we just do a store as well, like where people can come and eat? And I think where it went wrong, maybe it's the wrong thing to say, but we just went all out. We spent so much money into the decorations and everything, making it look so nice and premium. I took ideas from Costa, I took ideas from KFC, I took ideas from PFC, and try and combine everything into a design. So if you look at our logo, it's got that original PFC chicken, that face. You've got the color theme of PFC, the red, and if you've got the white. And I looked at, other mainstream operators and we were like, well, let's package up PFC and put it in a KFC outfit. And then what we'll do, copy and paste. Too premature. I thought it was so easy, but it's not. There's too many variables involved. And I thought it was a nice thing that I am involved and people saw that I'm involved. And I thought, people will have some sort of familiarity with the person and as a result with the brand. Unfortunately, it didn't work because it backfired. Not many people were, I thought everyone loves me out there, but unfortunately that's not the case. And we quickly realized some of the hate were channeled towards the chicken shop.
Okay, like in terms of bad reviews?
Bad reviews. Initially, our problem, when we were launching the business, our problem was the residents, the neighbors. They like to think they're a very high-end bunch of neighbors. MashaAllah, good jobs in city, but they live in town hamlets in a very beautiful square. And they were our problem. It wasn't our own people. They were the ones that were leaving the bad reviews before the shop even opened. And then we thought, okay, this is our challenge and we know what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. Unfortunately, after we've opened, we realized actually there's more like bad reviews coming from all directions. I was like, where are these coming from? Yes, we've made some mistakes. We've gone from fragrance. Our chef was the PFC master. He's had 20 years of experience in working in a kitchen, but I don't think he's run a professional business. So he brought all the recipes, but we just, on certain situations, we couldn't replicate the consistency. And there were some teething issues in early days. And because of that, remember I was saying it's a mistake that we made, that we spent too much money on the outfit and, the decoration and everything and giving people the high expectation. Wow, you're going to have, I don't know, like chicken made out of gold here. But unfortunately, due to some of the mistakes that we've made and coupled with our wrong pricing strategy, it kind of backfired on us.
You got too high or too low?
It was very high. Like initially, the prices were very high. And then slowly, we realized actually all of this. So we were working on a percentage and all of that stuff. And by the way, we looked at our cost price and we added a margin on top. Now, very recently, we realized some of the suppliers are shafting us. We didn't even clock on.
Is that due to lack of experience in the industry?
Yes, because initially there was loads of us. And another thing was accountability as well. Like, because there's few of us in terms of partners, there were 6 of us. Like everyone was just passing the buck on, like, oh, you do that. I've done, my thing was, oh, you know what? I've launched the shop. I've done all that grafting and grinding. I've done my fair share of the work. Now it's someone else. So that attitude didn't really help, the passing the buck on attitude. And then that's when I decided last year, and it's not I decided, 2 people wanted out. 2 of them, our good friends, we're still friends, by the way. We haven't fallen out. They wanted out because for them, it's not what they've envisioned it to be. It's not doing what they thought it would do. And they said, look, does anyone to take our shares? I negotiated with them and I made myself 50%, not because I really want to take 50%, bro, none of that. I wanted to put myself on purpose, put myself on the hot seat. Then it hurts me the most. And then I take action about it. And as such, alhamdulillah, it worked. I have put myself on the hot seat by taking 50%. And I started looking at, okay, what's going wrong? Because every month you're like giving 2K, 3K out of your pocket, like bleeding money. So we had to figure out what was not working. Alhamdulillah, thankfully, I have a brother that literally arrived from Bangladesh a year and a half ago. And he had some businesses in Bangladesh. He's a very loyal, trustworthy person, our cousin, Amor, shout out. He came in to the business. In fact, he also bought some shares into the business. And he looked at all the smaller details, like what's going on, like, what is this invoice saying? Why is this way? I've paid this man. Why hasn't that been reflected onto the balance? So he started finding all these issues, and then we started together in conjunction. We started fixing as many, because otherwise, if we didn't identify those issues, and by the way, they are deeply embedded into the operations. Like you would think, it's okay, but actually it's not okay. People are just doing
In family businesses, what's been your toughest aspect? Because this is a family business here, and I'm lucky in the sense that my dad's just giving me control. So this is your baby, run it how you want. But I know there's some family businesses where there are loggerheads because of clash of personalities, of clash of visions, or whatever it is. How's your experience been?
We didn't have too much clash we don't have clashes with our brothers. Even if there was some disagreements, like, internal disagreements, because there's 5 of us, and that's a beautiful thing of having uneven, shareholding, where it's not a deadlock, where you can, have a imbalance. It's a good to have it, and I always encourage anyone that's starting a business, either you stay 1 or you have 3. Don't have 2 or have 5, because when it comes to decision making, it makes it easier. If there's 3, then one person will step up and say, you know what, stop it, you 2. Let's do this. So there's always a 3rd person, which is good to have, and I think we're blessed to have that in our business. And we also have a lot of good things, as much as we face challenges. Disabled. Look, hand has 5 fingers. Not everyone is same. The way I have my ideas and what I think, I don't expect my other brothers to be like me, and I don't want them to be me. In fact, I want them to be them, and they should also celebrate and want for me to be who I am, and be better version of who I am. So yes, having said all of that, there are challenges, there are disagreements, and if it's too difficult, mom steps in. Mom, she's the referee. She will say, you know what, do this. So we're so blessed to have mom still in this world. I do fear sometimes when she's gone, and I do think, what would life like be when although she's not really active on our day-to-day life, but we know, like, if there's a big trouble, then we can take our case to mom to really make a good decision for all of us in the best interest of, because she knows what each of her sons are like. She knows my strengths, my weaknesses. She knows where everyone is. So she gives, almost always, she gives a good decision, and it's in the benefit of everyone, and almost everyone respects mom. So it works that way. But Having said that, also we do have a framework to work from. We have a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, between us brothers who are shareholders and the ones that are running the companies, where we've agreed a certain criteria. Like, for example, one of the things that we've accepted or come to terms with is we're not going to use haram financing in Sunnamusk. Till today, we don't use any of the bank loans, anything that involves riba or interest. It's always been like this, and alhamdulillah, it's paid its dividends and rewards. Sex appeal, we don't really believe in sex appeal, so we've abstained from that. Yes, to communicate certain products to our target or core target audience who happen to be females, we have to communicate in a respectable manner, and not exploiting imagery to evoke certain emotions. No, we don't believe in that. So having those guiding principles made sure that we are all on the same page. And if we sometimes cross the line, immediately there's a WhatsApp message. What's this? Take it down. Okay, taken down. Done. And then move on.
That's actually a really good concept to have as well, because then you can't go outside the framework.
No.
Because you have to personally be accountable for yourself.
No, absolutely. Because, bro, our business is Asian business. I think I can't stress enough how important it is to have those uncomfortable conversations right at the beginning. Having a shareholders agreement, even if it's a basic one, even if it's a one-page one. Now, with the help of ChatGPT, you have no excuse to not have a shareholders agreement and a memorandum of understanding. And on top of that, a job description. Because being a shareholder doesn't mean you're an employee of that company. Working as a person is a two different thing, being a shareholder. And because some founders, they are also employees. They're not really just shareholders. Later down the line, they think, I'm doing all of this work and this guy is also a shareholder. He's actually not doing much. So what's going on? And that's when all these problems happen. And then I've seen partnerships just disappear. You guys were good last week and this week, everything's gone. Why? Because, we didn't have those conversations right at the beginning.
What's your thoughts on, and I'm pretty sure you've said in a few podcasts, but on Bangladeshi businesses, and not just Bangladeshi businesses, but Muslim businesses in general, because you've said that I'm paraphrasing, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that they're not at a level they should be. They should be able to do so much more because the potential is there.
Bro, can you name a few that are national chains? You name a few that you can think of, that's nationally, that pops up as a national ethnic owned brand.
I would say Sunnamusk is one.
Thank you.
I would say the other ones are more Islamic finance guru.
Anyone. It could be Chaiwala. It could be Chaiwala is one of them. I mean, the way I see is okay, there's us, there's Chaiwala, and then there's all these other F&B business. Yes. So, but where are the other industries? Where is your chicken and chips, the Bangladeshi infused PFCs? Where are those? And that's the problem that I'm trying to solve or address. Be in shopping malls, be in airports, be in service stations, be in drive-thrus, be in all those places. Because we are, Muslims, we love food, right? Alhamdulillah, we have a good taste for food. And I think the world needs, the food that we have to offer. Italian pizza, bro, it's dead. Fish and chips, it's dead. Even to a certain extent, some of the Turkish food is quite bland. Arabic food is bland. Alhamdulillah, with our Asian, specifically our Asian food is mashallah, it's very, just the way the music is very elaborate. Same with the spices and the food is mashallah, it's got lots of layers to food.
So why haven't Muslim businesses,
I think it's
pushed forward?
It's conflicting, man. I think it's the conflicting ideologies. It's the way we've been brought up. We've been brought up to always think risk first. and not the other way around, or not thinking opportunity and risk together. Okay, I want to do this, but I want to also think about risk. What people do is they want to risk mitigate first, and then they look at the opportunity. It can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like this. You have to go either hand in
hand
hand or slightly opportunity first, and then you do the risk analysis. So inherently, the way we've been taught, and there's no one to be blamed for this. Our parents did the best they could for us. So they came to this country, they migrated, and they also had a risk mitigation plan. Okay, what would be least risky for us? Make our children be an accountant, because these are very high status jobs, high paid jobs, and they are high demand jobs. So lawyers, accountants, doctors, these are the areas that we pushed our people down. There was very few misfits. There was very few odd ones who went, done their own things. Alhamdulillah, we've got Muslim owned business like Bestway. Like, it's a mega company. Like Sir Anwar Parvez, mashallah, he's a Pakistani Muslim. Like, mashallah, I'm hugely inspired by his story. He was on the brink of going nowhere, and then someone reignited his vision of having Bestway, and look where it's now. They own Lloyd's Pharmacy as well. So there are some really interesting stories, but these guys, they don't come out and they don't blow on the trumpet on who they are. And maybe that's another problem as well, because maybe there are businesses that are owned by Muslims, but you just don't know who they are. So for example, I'll give you an example. Have you ever heard of a company called Onfido?
That's the anti-money laundering check.
Yes. Guess. You'll probably know because you're in the finance. But guess who the founders are?
I don't know the founders.
Muslims. One of them is a Bengali guy. His name is Ruhul Amin. He was in Stepney Green School. I went to the same school. I was in year 9, and maybe he was in year 8 or year 7 at that time. I'm not trying to make him look small, but I'm just trying to show the connection. We were there together. So he went to Oxford. MashaAllah, from Oxford, they launched a company called Onfido. People like Uber, people like banks, people like EasyJet Airline, they all use Onfido to do verification. And guess who? They're Muslims. I don't know what the status of the shareholding is now. People like Microsoft and big players have invested. I don't know if they're still owned by those guys. I suspect not. But there are some success stories. And these are one-offs. But we've got so much talents. We've got so much talents in our society, in our community. Like, we are just going out there for the right reasons, a good job, high paid salary, fine, no problem. But I think why some of these franchise businesses are doing very well is because there's a vacuum of cash or capital where professionals go and work in big companies like KPMG. They earn a big salary, but they're not really entrepreneurs. So they want to have a business, but in a safe way.
System.
Yeah. So I think that's how all of this happens, because some of these franchisees are not really like your, entrepreneurs, by birth or from the history. So I think a lot of these guys are professionals who've got a day job, but they also want something on the side. And yes, franchise makes perfect sense for these guys. They've got the capital, they've got the knowledge, and they're intelligent people at the same time. So if they're shown the road or the roadmap on how to manage, then they will just follow the procedure and duplicate and open more and more and more. So yeah, there's that aspect. But I think we need more founders to just go out there and be crazy and do something. And you know what? Thobe shop. Okay, fine, do it. Why is it not in Westfield? Why is it not in key locations? Why does it always have to be around a mosque? Some people say, you know what? Oh, you got a shop near the mosque in Eastern Mosque. Yes, from a visibility point of view, amazing. But from a customer transaction point of view, is it really amazing? People that are coming to the mosque, they're probably coming 5 times a day or 3 times a day. They're not going to buy 3 times a day. So just because there's a footfall, that doesn't mean there's a conversion. So I think we should venture out. And I think we should just bloody stop fighting each other with competition. Like, I hate to say.
Chai shops that have opened.
Oh my days, like chai shop, book shop, Islamic shop. You go down to Filgate Street. My God, like before it was like Al Manar and few others who were doing really well. Now it's like there's one in every single corner. I'm like, are there even enough customers for all these guys? By talking to some of these guys, they don't really like. Apparently, they're not really. None of them are making enough money. So I don't know. Like we need to just think outside the box. Alhamdulillah, we were so blessed with Sunnamusk. Like again, that too was a everyday product. It was an obvious product. Like every Islamic bookshop had attars and perfumes. Saudi Arabia, they had beautiful shops that are similar to Sunnamusk. Why isn't that someone else did that in the UK? We got told, oh, you know what, it's not going to work. You know what, it's too focused, too niche. Don't do it. Add tasbih, add hats, add zamzam water, add this. I said, nope. We're going to stick to perfumes and we're going to focus, because that's one thing that I've seen English business people do. English, British, Western business people do. If you look at English tradesmen, like they just specialize in one craft and they just do that so well.
Yeah.
And I took that as an inspiration. I'm like, do you know what? If you've got so many English small businesses and they just specialize in one aspect. And we wanted to do the same. We said, you know what? We want to be known for what we do. And that's it. And we kept on going and going and going. And the very people that belittled us those days are probably proud of us now because, wow, look, I've got a gift of Sunnamusk.
Is that a reason why you started a podcast as well, to share stories of people within our community?
So starting a podcast, mashallah, you've covered like so many things in this conversation. Very, very clever. So podcast, I started that. So look, content. So being in business and not having a content strategy is like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I think having a presence is not a must, because there are some really incredible business people who have zero presence on social media. But look, we're like social people. Like, we like to interact. And how do we interact mostly nowadays? Very rarely we meet. We do meet, but very rarely we meet. And most of the interaction is done on Instagram, WhatsApp, maybe LinkedIn to a certain extent. So I thought, I need content. Like, what do I do? Like, how do I feed my content? One side, people are saying, you should do motivational talks because you've done this and you failed and, you can tell all your stories. I'm like, okay, but I haven't really made it myself. Like, I don't have the authority to teach other people on how to be successful, because I feel like I'm still on that journey to make it happen for myself and along with my brothers. The second aspect is, post selfies and, everything that I do. But that's like, who wants to, like, how is that of benefit? How is that of benefit to anyone? Like, me doing all of this extra work and going to places and taking photos, but how does that benefit anyone? If anything, it attracts like nazar and evil eye on you. No, I don't want that. The third option is, you know what? Yes, we need content, but how about I learn from people? I talk to people and I can learn something from, like, wallah, like, there was not even a single episode where I didn't learn something new.
I've been the same, yeah.
Subhanallah, like, young, old, every type of people that I've met, I've learned something. And that was purely my objective. I'm going to learn and I'm going to share that learning experience on a platform. Did I anticipate some of the backlashes? No, I didn't. I thought it was going to be all fine. I know social media is toxic, but I didn't think like I'm going to be held accountable for some of the guests that we've had. And the only intention was to really hold them accountable. And because of my inexperiencedness, I couldn't hold them properly to account.
Did you get backlash for the Rob Moore episode?
Not from the Muslim community, but from the Jewish community.
Okay.
Like, it's so fun. It's funny. It's fun, like, to see so much violence that they have. Like, the instant reaction is violence. So I made a comment the other day. I was like, wow, like, if that's how people are behaving on the comment box, I can only imagine what it's like on the ground. Like, Like the initial reaction is like violence. It starts with violence. There is no hi, hello, I don't think you're right, or I disagree with you. None of that. Like full, that they will like attack you straight away. Anyway, so I thought, podcast is the way. But then again, my problem was like, how am I going to maintain this and how am I going to keep it running? Because I don't want to start something and then, like stop after a few episodes. And I've seen loads of these episodes where they start something, 2 episodes in, blank, gone, disappeared from the face of the earth. So I didn't want to be those guys as well. So I thought, and then I thought, I need to allocate some money to it because it needs to be treated professionally and properly. And I thought, what? And it also works in my favor because being an entrepreneur, as I was saying before, like you want to stop yourself from doing certain things sometimes as well, because just because an idea came to your mind doesn't mean you should go and execute it. So the podcast was like a weighing, like weight on top of my shoulders to keep me grounded and not look around chicken shop or this shop or that shop. Like just focus. And I guess to the icing on the cake of doing podcasts is like whatever money you put towards it, you're investing in your personal branding. Yeah. So it's not really a waste. It may appear to be a waste. And again, being a positive guy, I only see positive. I don't see negatives. Yes, negatives like bad comments, anxiety. My brothers have to deal with the pressure that I bring from the podcast. So I've got 5 brothers. MashaAllah, they're all prominent in their own activities. They're excelling in their own way. And there's this me who's trying to, do this podcast, and some of the guests, bring some...
What kind of backlash have they got?
They would get asked, oh, what's your brother doing? Like, why is he interviewing this woman? And you know what, like, as I was saying before, maybe we will consider having a female host for the women guests, because ultimately, I don't want to do something wrong. And interviewing a female guest, is it the right thing? Maybe not. Most likely not. So I want to find a solution to see how we can navigate this, and where I can just interview the brothers and a female host maybe can interview the female guests. And if there are any female sisters watching who have, what it takes to be, to try and steer a conversation, then reach out to me. Inshallah. Thank you for allowing me to say this in your podcast. It's just another layer of work, man. Like, they've got enough things to do in their life. And then now this episode comes and, they get a WhatsApp message from an imam's group or something. And it's like, well, what's your brother doing? I'm like, like, I can imagine, like, I can feel their frustration. Like, oh God, not again.
And they also have to kind of play nice as well. They can't.
Exactly. They can't be militant and, say, yeah, it's got nothing to do with me. Like, obviously, ultimately. So they find themselves in a situation where it's not of their choosing, but they are having to hold up the bits and pieces. But I guess that's what family is about, right? If they're in trouble one day, I'm not going to back down and say, I'm sorry, that's you, man. Like, I've got nothing to do with that. Of course, I would like, if you have been wronged, or if someone is saying something wrong about my family or my brothers, I will defend with my heart and soul. So that's what family is for. And we look after each other.
What's your end goal for the podcast? Because you're 2 years in, you start at the same time as me. What's your end goal?
End goal. I want it to be a platform for discussions. I want it to be a platform for entertainment, halal alternative to Netflix. I want it to inspire our people. So our audience is our people. Our guests may not be our people. We can learn from those guests. The likes of Rob Moore. What have we got to learn? There's so much that we can learn from British, Western, English way of thinking. There's so much out there. And there's so much to learn. And that's why we mix and match our guests. Where do I want to be in terms of profile influence? Maybe I guess number one. So there's 2-point-something billion Muslims, and I want to be number one platform for those discussions. And Side by side doesn't mean it's just me. Like, it could be hosted by someone else. It may not be hosted by me. It's just a platform that I'm creating. Yes, Kazi Rahman is me, but side by side is a platform that I'm trying to create. And just like maybe 5 years in with our businesses, I might say, you know what, guys, this has turned into a bit of a business unit by itself, a production media company. It's going to have its own destination and vision. And there might be different presenters presenting the show, and it doesn't have to be me, because to be honest, it's not really. Some people think it's all about clicks and views, and yes, of course, it is about views. That's why we do it. Otherwise, why would we do it? We want to get the attention to the episode, and we want to retain the engagement as much as possible, and that's how YouTube works. So it doesn't make sense to have boring conversations. You have to have interesting conversations, and yes, some of the conversations do create a bit of tension with the audience. And I guess this is all part of the whole entertainment industry. So I do feel like, yes, we're in education, entertainment space, even maybe yourself as well. We're trying to educate, at the same time entertain our viewers and listeners. So yeah, number one, man, why not? Why not set the bar high, and you know what, maybe I'll become, I was looking at Joe Rogan, I'm like, wow, this guy, like 2,200 episodes this guy's done. And I'm like, well, obviously, like, he's Joe Rogan for a reason. He's a comedian. He's been a presenter from back in the time. So who am I to say, you know what? Yeah, maybe I will become like a Joe Rogan one day, maybe in 20 years time or 30 years time, if I carry on.
Yeah.
And then you've got Diary of a CEO. MashaAllah, that's really impressive what this guy does. Like, really, I'm very impressed with the crispness. And imagine we could have the same thing, having a Muslim conversation.
Muslim thumbnails are quite similar.
Yeah, we do take a lot of inspirations, and why not?
Yeah,
if we can learn,
success.
Yeah, well, if we can learn from each other, then why not? I mean, I don't think it's an ego thing for me. If I learn something from you or your show, then yeah, you might see it, like, transpiring in our shows. And then equally, it might happen to you, like, where you might see something that we're doing and you also might want to implement it. Why not? So yeah, man.
One final thing before we finish off. What legacy do you want to leave behind?
Legacy. I've been thinking a lot about legacy recently. I don't think I want to die soon, but it's a thought that's been coming in my head. And I read somewhere recently where it says, legacy, trying to leave a legacy is an egotistical thing where you want to die, you're going to die, but again, you still don't want to die at the same time. Like, you want to leave something where people remember you. So it's all about you and your remembrance. But then again, on the flip side, if you do something really positive, impactful, then people will pray for you. That's what I want to be remembered for. Like, where it triggers people to, pray for me. And inshallah, if I receive those residual du'as, then you know what, maybe my life in grave might just get slightly easier, inshallah, if I don't make it to the good side. Recently I had a friend, Allahu Akbar, my friend passed away, Azhar Ali Khan, by Faida. There you go. My God, man, like, my chest, like, it just contracted. Like, when I heard that someone put it on LinkedIn, I was like, no, this is not true. That's not our Azhar Bhai. Let me message Sultan Bhai from Al Rayyan Bank, or ex-Al Rayyan, to verify, because unfortunately that's true. So I'm like, bro, life is so temporary. Life is so temporary. Like, Azhar Bhai, he came to my house. We had dinner together. And by the way, he has been instrumental to my learning about finance. Some of the stuff that I've been talking about here is from Azhar Bhai, through Firnas. Because I was so dumb in a sense of, from finance perspective. I didn't know what corporate finance was all about. He used to draw on a piece of paper and make it so, like, bite-sized for me, like, for dummies.
Very simple.
Yeah, and he used to educate me like that. And this is the biggest impact that he's left. And so many thousands of people that he's interacted with, and they all have something good to say about him. Alhamdulillah, I've made it to Janaza. I couldn't see his face for one last time, man. But I feel so gutted that he's no longer with us. And it's a reminder to me, to everyone around me, even my wife. She was so devastated because through Firnas, she became so involved, like from behind the scene, and she met Azhar Bhai, and she was like, what the, like, no way, it's impossible. Some of my English colleagues from Firnas days, I messaged them and say, look, this is what's happened. And they were so, everyone that he's spoken to, interacted with, like, was just devastated. And life is just too short, man. And I do worry if I'm going to wake up tomorrow and what life is going to be like tomorrow. And if I don't wake up, then what have I done?
No, and death is always a reminder for everyone in terms of life is very short. So whatever you want to accomplish, start it now.
Literally, do it now. And there's a Islamic saying where it says, you know what, even if it's the day of Qiyamah, like if you're doing something, if you're like planting a crop or something, keep doing until you are like, I don't know, blown away or something. But we should keep doing. We should be productive. As Muslims, we've got so much work to do. And I think one of the biggest form of dawah is just us being productive and being more fruitful and of value. Look,
being an ambassador.
And look at the contribution. Like, look, Islamic world has had immense contributions to the world that we live in. Equally, the Western civilization has contributions as well. So there's so much out there, and I think the next wave of Muslim generation, we have to be out there, and I think we need to showcase ourselves, not just hide behind it. Because, bro, you're in podcasting, I'm in podcasting, and we understand Nazar, we understand evil eye, and I have the same fear in my head. You know what? I'm doing all of this. I'm attracting more attention to me. And if that happens, then obviously more evil eye. What do? Do I stop now? No, I don't. I do my adhkar, I do my zikrs, and I read, and I protect myself and my family, and then I go out and do it. So yes, Nazar is out there, but I think my encouragement to all the brothers and sisters out there, please just don't hide behind the scenes and don't fear failure, because some of the people just don't do anything because they're scared of failing. Fail fast, fail quickly, and learn and move on. And inshallah, sooner or later, you will realize your failures have taught you to become who you are. So that's my...
And the other thing is, don't expect to have everything figured out at the beginning.
No.
But you have to take that initial step. If you didn't step foot in Whitechapel Market, you wouldn't have 31 stores.
Bro, like
you didn't know how to get to 31 stores.
When I look back at some of the photos, I'm like, wow, like amazing. Like, and yes, journey of 1,000 miles begins with what? The first step. We need to take that first step. Please, brothers, sisters, start something. Whatever it is you want to start, have a big dream, big vision, think big, and have a plan, and just go for it. Bismillah. Have tawakkul. We use tawakkul in a wrong way, you know that. We use tawakkul not to do stuff. We use tawakkul as a safety net, as a cushion. Like, tawakkul is not meant to be there to make you not do stuff. Tawakkul is there to have faith in Allah. Yes, do your risk planning, do your risk mitigation, and then just go for it. And go for it with full focus. Don't look right or left. Once you've made that decision, I know it's hard. It's hard, like making that decision to take a leap into the unknown. But trust me, Allah will not let you down. I've seen it time and time again. Allah does not let you down. In my Firnas days, there was times where, like, when I look back, I'm like, how did I do it? How did the solution come on the 11th hour? Like, how does it work? So the mercy of Allah comes. If you ask Allah for help, it will come. Allah is not going to leave you on the lurch hanging. If it's not meant to be, it's not going to happen. And that's fine. It's okay. But Allah does not leave anyone on the lurch and hanging.
I'll tell you a quick story before we finish. So we had a VAT bill of £30,000. And I looked in the account. I'm like, why is there no £30,000? And I'm thinking, where's this coming from? Where's this coming from? Literally, on the day VAT was due, we had an invoice of about £32,000 paid.
Subhanallah.
Paid the VAT, and it's like, that's it. That's me done. But it's like, all that time you're worrying, but you realize Allah's got your back.
Allah's got your back. Trust me, I've seen it time and time again. Whether it's in Sunnamusk, whether it's in Firnas, whether it's in Buddies, whether it's in the podcast, like, Allah's got your back. All you have to do is ask Him for help.
And the funny thing is, that invoice was paid 1 year up front. It was only meant to be month by month. And they paid 1 year.
Subhanallah. See Allah's help, man. Bros, sisters, just do it, man. Just do it. I would have added another word, but I'm not going to add that. There's a term in my office, JFDI. I think people know what F means, but just do it.
On that note, Kazi, it's been a pleasure. And I wish you all the success.
Thank you.
Sunnamusk buddies and everything.
Thank you for having me.
See each other soon, inshallah.
Inshallah.